Namaste. Welcome to Sipping on Stories podcast. I'm your host Irene, and this is where we welcome women healers and spiritual leaders from all around the world to come and share their journeys and their experiences with us. And of course, we do them over warm cups and deep thoughts. For those who have been enjoying our podcast episodes so far, thank you so much for showing your love. And for those who are new to this channel, welcome. Please like and subscribe so we can continue sharing this love. Thank you. Namaste, Aida. Welcome to Sipping on Stories podcast. I am truly happy to have you here today. So first of all, tell us where you're joining us from and what choice of beverage have you got for us today?
Thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me on your podcast today. I'm super excited. I'm actually in Queensland in Australia. I'm on the Sunshine Coast. And today I've got my beverage of choice and I have this gorgeous teacup. And because it is about sipping on stories, I selected this one from my many teacups. And this one has a bunch of stories of people just enjoying and embracing, funnily enough, this human experience. So I selected this one because of all the gorgeous stories that are on this teacup. So
I love it. I love it. Cheers. Awesome. Thank you, Aida. Thank you for sharing that with us. So I guess today we'll, of course, would love to know from you, give us a little introduction about yourself and what your journey has been like. And today we are here to kind of explore what it looks like for a human, I think a spiritual soul, I would say a soul having human experience on earth. So I guess this is what we're kind of here today to discuss and dive deeper into it and discuss some of your experience, your life journey, and what sort of experiences you've come across. So with that, please introduce yourself and we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So I'm Aida Jasmine, and funnily enough, I'm probably one of the few rare people that have actually kept my given name, because I believe that it was a name that was gifted to me or I chose before coming into this human incarnation. And from my story, I grew up in Western Australia, and I always had this gift, so to speak. I always had this ability to see and feel and hear and know. And then growing up, it was quite scary. And we were in a lower socioeconomic area. We were from a poorer family. And then I always had these visions and things and like of different things or of different countries and like that too for a young child, and who parents were quite afraid of what I was seeing and feeling and relating to them. I learned to shut this down because of the fear factor of what this potentially was. And it wasn't until later on I was like being more aware and more conscious and more growing through this phase. And I'm like, okay, there is some of these things that I was seeing was coming to be. They weren't to be feared. A lot of good things were also being seen. So, a lot of people think that visions can just sometimes be negative stuff. It could be a lot of good stuff too. So started really opening that up into my teens. And back when I was younger, we didn't have the internet. I was in a small mining town, so we didn't have resources that we do today, which we're so grateful for. It's easy to connect with different people on podcasts or the internet or books that are available on many subjects. So whatever you're interested in, you can research and know that there's other people like you or having similar experiences. I didn't have that growing up. So I started, recording a lot of my experiences and writing them down so that perhaps one day I could help and share these with other people and know that I wasn't alone. And it wasn't when I moved over to Sydney into the eastern side of Australia when I was 25, I think it was at the time, that it opened up my horizons. It opened up that there was so much more. I was a small town kid in a big city life, so I was living that dynamic, and then was more open to and using my intuition, which is kind of that gut feeling, which I truly believe we all have. We're all this innate, beautiful spiritual being in this human body. And I started developing more of those senses as I was navigating and as I matured in Sydney or in living through life. And as we get older, we live more experiences and starting to see patterns and cycles in my own life. And do I have the power of choice, or am I just a victim to what's happening to me? The more I would speak and be open and connect with my highest level self, my intuition, I was being guided. I started
Yeah.
following those hits, because we know what it's like when we, you get a gut feeling about something and you're like, oh, I knew that was going to happen because I could feel it, or I got a sense of it, or some people call it their gut feeling or sixth sense, or there's many different names. So this vibe that you get from people or things or situations.
Yeah.
So it's experiencing those and starting to listen to those little nudges more, and just, when more research and the internet became available, I started really diving into researching more of this and getting a greater understanding and learning that, my greatest teachers was my highest self, that we're beautiful spiritual beings having an earthly experience.
Yeah.
And that's the misconception that they're two separate things. Oh, and actually, in fact, they're so not. We are a spiritual being having earthly experience. Let's embrace this, what it's here to do, what it's for, and how we can actually experience heaven on earth.
That's so beautifully put. I connected and resonated with everything that you just said, because this is the same thought process that I have as well. And I feel like the deeper you go within your soul, it's there to guide you. The deeper you go, you have your own intuition, your higher self guiding you, and again, for the good. But again, I also want to point out that people who are on this journey, especially even practicing their intuition and trying to listen to what, like for example, when I still practice it, like for example, do it in small things. Like when you wake up in the morning, just decide, are you going to drive to work or you're going to take the train to work? So see what your intuition tells you. It's a very subtle thought, just comes in a second, and don't overthink it. And I guess as you start practicing that, and you would agree, as you start practicing that, maybe big, difficult decisions in your life will become easier, and the struggle becomes easier. Yeah, awesome.
Absolutely. I love that. And may I just quickly speak to what a lot of my students or clients ask me is like, well, how do I know the difference between intuition or instinct? Like, what's the difference? How do I know?
Yeah.
And the thing that I always teach and that they always then kind of pick up, it's like intuition is that calm, gentle, knowing voice. So when you go, do I drive to work today or do I take the train? It's that calm sense of knowing. It's like, take the train today. You can listen to a podcast. It'll be nice and easy, and doing that. And you go, okay, yeah, I'm going to take the train today. It's gentle. But if you go, oh, I get the train today. Oh, but the train's busy, and then maybe I should drive because then I can try. The moment it gets chatty, that's the brain coming in. That's instinct coming in. That's the human ego coming in, and we override it sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you're stuck in traffic, and you're like, should have known. I should have taken the train. I would have had a much easier ride.
Exactly.
That's how you know the difference, when you're trusting that intuition. The more you listen, going, then you get to. That's how we build the confidence to keep trusting it and using it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this is one way of how we can practice intuition. But what are the other ways, Ada, that one person can actually connect to their soul, go deeper, connect to their higher self?
Beautiful. So, well, firstly, our soul isn't in our body, or our spirit isn't in our body. Our body is in our spirit, right? So we are beautiful spiritual beings. It means we are greater than this beautiful, very small body by comparison. So think of the universe and Earth. Earth is just one little globe in this giant universe. And that's how I perceive our body is in our soul. Our body's in our soul, not our souls in our body. And by learning to tune into that guidance, it's like the ways that we can do this is like taking a breath. Like if you need to feel a space in your body, it's your heart. If you need to find a space where your soul resides in your body, let it be your heart. Because that's like it's the giver of all life. It keeps our whole system going, keeps blood pumping through our whole body. So placing your hands on your heart and taking some intentional deep breaths into that space and trying to quieten the mind and feel into your body and then feel into the space. It's a beautiful practice of tuning in to go deeper into your soul, tuning in to go deeper into yourself.
Yeah.
And it can be a 5-minute practice. It doesn't have to be an hour long. Like, oh, meditate, it's too hard. So I get that a lot. It's like quietening down,
Mm,
placing your hands on your heart and taking those deep breaths is a really beautiful way of just connecting to yourself deeper.
mm.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that insight. And I hope that our listeners listening to this podcast will, really push them to kind of do that, because I feel like in this day and age, I feel everyone has to kind of the way the entire humanity is kind of progressing. Of course, it's going to be a different topic altogether if you have to talk about it. But I think everyone at some stage they have to kind of go inwards, or, connect to this enormous spirit that we have in all the universe. So, thank you for sharing that. And, I was thinking that it would be kind of useful today if you play a little game.
Yeah,
And
sure.
this game, I call this game as Myth or Not. The reason I decided to kind of go with some of these questions I have is people who are maybe not spiritually inclined, or people who are just kind of curious and having a sneak peek into spirituality or having a spiritual awakening. They might have certain notions about spirituality or spiritual people itself. Because I was one of those persons like years ago. And when I had my own experiences or saw my close ones having their spiritual experiences, it just shifted. The things, perception shifted. So I thought, so let's play this game. So I have 5 myths that I've got for you today. So I will make a statement and you tell us if it's a myth or not, and tell
Okay.
us why is it a myth or why is it not.
Yes, perfect.
All right. All right, here we go.
Mhm.
First one I have here is spiritual people are always peaceful and calm.
Bum, bum. Myth. There's we want to remember that we're also human,
Mm,
right? And if you're always peaceful and calm, it means that you're not tuning into your body, you're not tuning into yourself, and you're not tuning into your emotions. Like
mm,
when we look at our range of emotions as humans, we've all at some stage in our life have experienced fear, love, joy, laughter, peace, bliss, happiness. We've also experienced anger,
mm,
jealousy, rage, frustration, envy, anxiety, depression. And if we are a spiritual person, and I love this because there's this meme that's ultra spiritual, right? Where, oh no, I'm always happy, I'm okay, I'm always blissful. It
mm,
means we're not actually allowing ourselves to be in this human experience and go, actually, I found that quite confronting. I'm allowing myself to feel my emotion. The key is to not be attached to it. The key is to not go, I'm angry and I'm just going to rage and I'm going to hold on to this anger and the reason why I'm angry for so long. And
mm.
then I keep tuning into it every day.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, but we can't always attach to our happiness. Can't be blissful all of the time because
Mm.
where's the balance
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that? We're wanting to achieve balance in our lives, which means sometimes we feel anger
Mm.
and sometimes we feel happiness. But I
Yeah.
can't be happy all of the time because then I'm faking it and I'm not allowing myself to feel my emotions.
Mm. Mm.
Then I don't want to be angry all of the time because then I'm just living in the past, or
Yeah.
I'm not allowing myself to come back into a piece of equilibrium, which is
Yeah.
what I truly want to achieve in life.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's very nicely put, because, yes, from my experience, I've learned that spirituality often involves learning how to manage your emotions more mindfully, be aware
Yeah.
of it, but it doesn't mean that, they are immune to, life challenges. So I
Perfect.
guess, that's really nicely put. Thank you for, sharing your insights to that. So the second myth I have is spirituality equals a religious belief.
Beautiful. And there's this beautiful Sufi saying or ancient proverb is religion is for people who believe in hell, oh, I'm going to muck this up, but I'll try and get it right. And then religion's about people who've gone to hell, who are going to hell, and then spirituality is those people who already believe that they've been there, right? So religion and spirituality can be combined, but they are two different experiences. So
Mm,
you can be a spiritual being, because we all truly are, and not have it attached to a religious belief. So it
mm,
doesn't have to be attached to Islam or Muslim or Hindu or Christianity or Catholic, or it doesn't have to be attached to any religion. It's a belief that we are all one. We
yeah.
all have oneness. We're all humans. at the core of our being. So that's spirituality. And religion is, those very factors of those belief systems around the world, which there are many. Each culture pretty much has its own religion. So, but you can be a religious person and spiritual, because you can have a greater sense of consciousness. But spirituality at its essence is consciousness and awareness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And religion also just has a belief that, okay, this is the avenue or the pathway that I'm following. This is the God that I'm following, or leader that I'm following. Spirituality doesn't necessarily have to have one belief system or one religious purpose. It can have many, or it can be completely on its own mindset or on its own being set.
Yeah, perfect. All right. The fourth myth I have here is spiritual people avoid conflict.
And let me tell you, if you're anyone avoiding conflict, then you're not doing yourself a favor. Yeah. Spiritual people everyone requires boundaries, and we require those difficult conversations. So if we're avoiding conflict and not choosing to speak up, then we're actually what we call spiritual bypassing. We're pretending that didn't trigger us, activate us, stir emotions within us. And we're just going to just brush it under the carpet. Okay. Like the ostrich goes, oh, I don't like that. I'm just going to stick my head in the sand, pretend it's not happening. But it is happening. And if you are being triggered or activated, then requiring those conversations is essential.
Yeah.
So I believe that's another myth.
Yeah, definitely. And spirituality, it encourages harmony, but it doesn't mean that avoiding necessary conflict or speaking up when needed. So that's important. Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. Thank you for sharing that. And the last myth that I have here is spiritual people always have positive thoughts.
And again, that's another myth. Because we are human and we're living in a coexist world. We're living in a world where there's a lot of different things going on, and we cannot control what's happening around us, but we can control how we respond to those situations. So to say that you always have positive thoughts is what they call toxic positivity. It's a psychological term that they use in psychology. It's like it's toxic positivity. You can't be like, oh, it's okay. Like there's a big war going on right here. I'm just going to pretend I'm okay. Or there could be like, my dog just died. Oh, that's okay. Like yes, we do feel range of emotions again, because we are human. And by, we do want to be quite positive. We want to create our reality. We want to be able to send that vibration and energy out into the world. But occasionally, being human, we might have a challenged thought. But again, we don't want to unpack and stay there. We're going to go, is this thought real? Because whilst we want to choose to live not in fear, but in love, fear is false emotions or energies appearing real, which is very different to danger. So if we're in a dangerous situation, we may not have a very positive thought right then. There's a lion racing at us, but, we could be in a challenging situation. Doesn't mean we're not allowed to have a negative thought. It's like, okay, is it true? Is this serving me? Is this of the highest good? If not, can I unpack that? Actually, I'm just going to choose to rewire it. But we do. And not often those thoughts can come up, and it is absolutely okay, but it's not okay to stay there.
Yeah, definitely. So it's not about denying negativity, but it's about working through it in a conscious and a healthy way. So
perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Aida. Thanks for sharing that. It was amazing, and it's really good because I'm so resonating as you are talking. I'm so resonating with you. So thank you for being you. This is amazing, and I guess with this, I have so many more questions to ask you. And I'm pretty sure that our listeners who are connecting to this particular podcast with this episode maybe are feeling the same as I am. But I know that you are also a medium, and there's so many terms: psychic, medium, mediumship. But in your perspective, what is a medium? Or who is a medium?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. It's such a great question, because when you look at the term, and yes, there's medium, there's psychic medium, there's animal medium, and then there's people, and like, oh my gosh, what does this all mean? But when you look at the definition of medium, it's a
Mm,
go-between.
yeah.
It's the in-between.
Mm,
And another word for medium that I like to use is channel or conduit. So
mm,
a pipe to bring water from the dam to the house and to a tap, the pipe is a medium. So it
mm,
can be the conduit between two at the beginning and the end, so to speak, or A
yeah.
to B.
Mm,
So a medium is a source or a channel. So mediumship is all about being a channel for whatever you're channeling.
mm,
So for me personally, I channel the divine, I channel my highest level self, I can connect to other source beings, light beings, and then channel that. And I believe everyone has these abilities, because we can always connect to source, God, universe, whomever your belief system is, and
mm,
where that's coming through us. And being a medium, it's like, how do we then share that out to the world? That can be in your everyday.
mm,
You're a medium for this podcast.
yeah.
YouTube is a medium, or your podcast channel is a medium to getting this message out into the world. So
Yeah.
you're the medium
Yeah.
between connecting us all together.
Mm,
So medium is a in between
yeah.
of two various points.
Yeah.
So when you think of, okay, an animal medium is someone who is able to connect with the animal and share those messages with others about how that animal is or feeling. And it can be anything that you can be
Yeah.
a medium to when you tune into that energy.
Yeah.
So that to me is the perception, or the what a medium is.
Mm. That's very beautifully defined. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I guess because there's so many definitions out there and there's so many things,
Mm.
and I also feel like, given that in the space of spirituality, in space of alternate healing, there's so many healing modalities that exist. But of course, it's coming out of one particular thing, right? But there's so many things, and people do get confused, especially people who are new to this or trying to explore. So, thank you for kind of defining that for us. That was very beautiful. And I guess what I want to ask you is, I'm curious, is you told us that you started seeing things or having visions of things that at a very early stage of your life, it was difficult for people to believe you of
Yeah.
what was happening. And I think with this, where I want to go is spread out a message to people that with your experience of even connecting with spirits, connecting to other sides, having visions, please tell us like what other experiences you went through that you felt at one point you felt, oh my God, I'm not normal, or you
Yeah.
felt like, oh my God, I'm alone in this. Because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that a lot of people out there having similar experiences might feel lonely or might feel
Mm.
that nobody's understanding them around them. Or it could be family, it could be partner, it could be, siblings, kids that are not understanding them. But I guess it's a message that they also understand that they are here for a purpose, they're here for a reason, and they're playing a character. But at the same time, they should not feel lonely because there's so many avenues for them to kind of go out and kind of explore what they're feeling.
Beautiful. And that's the great thing about the internet these days, is that we can literally research, does anyone else see things? Does anyone else hear voices? And I know I had a great feel growing up. It's like I would hear voices and I would see things. And back then, because we're talking 40 something years ago, because I'm 50 now, it's like people would think I'd be crazy. You're
Yeah.
crazy. You need to, and look, there are, and by no means was this um induced in any way. I wasn't hallucinating per se. I wasn't under any like influence of drugs or alcohol. I was a
Mm,
child. So the thing that I would say is just be open and tune into your own, like, what do I feel? Why is this triggering me? Why do I feel like that's rubbish or BS or not true? And yes, unfortunately, there's a few charlatans out there in the field too, but I invite you to go within. And then if you're experiencing some things,
mm,
then there's plenty of places you can research now, plenty of books that you can gain access to, or plenty of people you can reach out to and go, I'm having these experiences.
mm,
Is it true? What does it mean? And
yeah.
they don't have to be negative. They can be some wonderful, joyful experiences that you can invite into your life. Whether you feel something's off or you're feeling bliss and joy. We always know when we meet someone who we just get a bad vibe, right? The streets call it vibe. It's like, oh, I just don't feel safe with that person. And then, we learn, if we're around their energy, we kind of learn why. After a while, they may not just gel with us. Their energy may not sit with us, or their vibe isn't one that we. It doesn't mean they're a bad person by any means. I feel that as humans, if we eliminate labels from other people and we don't judge other people, we can release that judgment from ourselves and we can live a more harmonious life and go, all right, they believe that they're seeing things. What if that was true? What if for them that was true? Because we all have the power of dreaming. Well, what are those dreams if not visions anyway? So I always just allow people to express themselves. And then I ask a ton of questions. What is that like for you? How is that experience for you? How was it? Like, let me know more. And then they get to feel safe in expressing. I'm also comfortable going, I actually don't want to hear any more about that. So thank you. So ensuring that you are that sovereign being and being okay with what you give and receive.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we can reach out to so many people these days and going, am I okay in this, or am I going crazy? Or if it's influenced by drugs and alcohol, then often we know that those substances can cause or can influence those visions or can influence those experiences that you're having. But if you're having them in a normal state of being or in your everyday, it's like, oh, maybe there's more to this. And then I would encourage you to explore that and just being open to what other people are saying. Sometimes we get a sense of, I don't think that's entirely true, but that's what they're choosing to share. And that's okay. I don't have to accept everything that people are telling me either. That's for me to discern, because as humans, we're always cancer clearing and deleting. We're always discerning what we're choosing to receive or not, just like a radio station. So you can choose to go, maybe there's a bit of truth to that, maybe not. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's great. And I guess with your experience as such, connecting to the other side or even working with your clients, what sort of experiences have you had? If you're open to sharing some of those today with our listeners, that'd be great.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you. And always with full permission, and I will never reveal anyone's name because I obviously deep love and trust with that container that's held with them. Some of the experiences that they get to have is like, well, one, the safety of being, I can say whatever I want, do what with permission in this moment and not feel judged, right? Because I feel that that's such an important sacred space for people. And then watching people relax and be uncovering more of who they truly are. It's like, oh, I am actually quite funny. I don't have to be serious or raised to be a doctor, but it's not what my true heart calling is. I want to be an artist. I want to share my art with the world. And more that they express that that's their true calling and resonance. It's like, oh, I'm really loving expressing my art. And then they share that with people, community, or someone says that's amazing, and then they discover their true pathway, that they were always meant to be that artist. That was their medium to send their message out in the world as art. But they were, one would say forced, pushed. They were encouraged to follow the doctorate path because that's what they truly believed that they had to be be part of the community. Nothing wrong with doctors. Gosh, we all needed them at some stage and may do so in the future. So great love and respect for those. And I have a student who has known from the age of 5 that she's wanted to be a judge. And she's followed that her entire pathway. And she's now tuning into her spirituality, you might say. And she's incorporating that. So she now gets a sense when one of her clients is lying to her, or, she's developing that intuition. And how to use it into the corporate space or into her everyday life so that she's becoming an incredible lawyer, litigator, barrister. She's done all of them now. So she's on her pathway, but she truly believes being a judge is her thing. But how to incorporate the spiritual aspect into the human energy. And that's what we're here to do. And using that as part of, okay, I can use this and I can utilize my time and energy and effort well, because I'm trusting my intuition. I've set the intention and I'm being guided by
Mm.
something greater than me, which is just me anyway.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm believing in that source energy. So a lot of my clients are having these incredible experiences of learning to merge the two and
Mhm.
feeling like, oh, I'm okay in this human body. I'm allowed, as we've discovered by those myths, to have ranges of emotions, and that I don't have to pretend to be blissful all the time. And I don't have to live in poverty mindset because, spiritual people are not allowed to make money is another myth, right? Just look at Mother Teresa. She was like a nun living in a convent, but she raised millions for children during her lifetime.
Yeah.
So she knew the importance of raising capital to help
Mm.
others, right?
Yeah,
Support
definitely.
others. So there's always these ways of seeing that beautiful like embodiment
Mm.
or trusting or flowing and watching them come alive and discovering, okay, what's my true path and purpose? What am I actually here to do in this lifetime?
Mm.
And then having them either shift and direct or incorporating it more, like my lawyer
Mm.
or the doctor who's like, oh, I'm actually not focusing so much on my doctorate anymore. I've channeled all my energy into art, and that's become so much more fruitful. I feel so much joy in my life. So it's
So
really
amazing.
beautiful and just developing more of who they are.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's actually very amazing. So thank you for sharing that. And I guess this is a great segue to kind of get into, how we find, so how do spiritual people actually find balance between human life and their spiritual calling? And the reason I asked this is because, there's another myth where we kind of touched upon was, spiritual people kind of give up on all materialistic things. But, we discussed like that's not true. And and I think this is a great point that you kind of touched upon is that having, practicing spirituality or going deeper and connecting with your higher self has allowed you to become better at your corporate job. And I know that you were in a corporate job for years, and having to kind of walk your spiritual path versus, dealing with your corporate life. How did you kind of go about balancing that? Because personally, I'm in a corporate job too, but as you know, and really, this podcast is my passion project. And this is the first time I've said it on as we are recording. Um, and what I've found is as as I started walking the path of spirituality, I started kind of disengaging myself from all the politics, disengaging myself from other things that I don't need, or stop getting bothered by things that don't concern me. So these are some of the things that I've seen, where I don't get stressed for silly things at work. At the end of the day, your work is work, not your life. So I was able to kind of disconnect with that, and see it as two separate things. But I would love to hear from you as what your experience was and kind of balancing your human life and your spiritual life. And of course, what your clients' experiences have been like too.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I feel initially when we are in the corporate space, we're fully in it and we think that our spirituality is something we do on weekends or when we get home. And truly, we're all the same being. So
Mm.
being able to, it's believing that there's something more to than this corporate life, because some people are here to create those corporations and they can be incredibly spiritual. I've met many of them. I've coached and guided some CEOs of some very powerful, like high-end companies in Australia. Obviously, I can't reveal who they are or their company, but they're on their pathway and they incorporate their spirituality into their company and into the vibe. So then
Mm.
people are feeling like, I'm not burning the candle at both ends. I don't have to, like, I'm forced. I'm not living in fear of my job. It's being able to bring more levels of conscious awareness, and
Mm.
it's connecting in with the spirituality. So what that looks like in a day is, like we said before, do I choose to drive my car to work or do I going to catch the train? Right. And when you are in a corporate aspect, it's like, is this client going to be what I need? Are we going to work well together rather than just chasing the money? Right.
Mm.
Because there's sales roles. I worked for Telstra. I worked for them for a good decade. I know what their sales company's like. And there was a big drive and push. And Telstra's an amazing company. Thank you for the telecommunications that we have. Nothing against them, but they have sales teams. And, salespeople, their primary current is like drive, push. And how do they do that? And they force, and then they grind, and they hustle. And I'm saying there's another way. Because when we believe in the spiritual element, or how we incorporate that into our sales roles, so to speak, it's like I'm providing a solution for my customers. So let's change the relationship, or the perception of the relationship. Are they just a number to me? Are they just a dollar sign to me? And if you're looking at it that way, it's a very masculine way of looking, and it's a very narrow-minded and not a very healthy aspect of treating people like commodities, right? They're just money and a means to an end for me to get more money or to tick my goals, to, like tick my targets, and I've got to do this. Or one, are you in the right world? Two, okay, I'm looking for the perfect marriage for all of my clients, right? How do I connect with the right people, give them the right solutions, and then it's a win-win. So then they get what they need. They've provided money for that, because that's the commodity that we're potentially using in that engagement, and they're getting a great service. So the moment we look at solutions, services, and people are ready to invest, not buy, not sell, invest, it's like, then that's the perfect marriage, so to speak. Ring on finger, sign a contract, right? Yeah. So that's what we truly want. And then we engage, and the moment we go, okay, who is my best and ideal client? Then let's search for them. And if you're in an industry, retail, there's, Maya, who has a broad spectrum, and they cater for a lot of different things at a certain level. Then there might be Cotton On Body, or Kmart, another level. It's like, cool, they're attracting a certain energy element. They're at a marketplace, and they're attracting people to them. That's a marriage made. You invest in what you're wanting to purchase from them, off you go. So when we're bringing our spirituality into our corporate life or into our everyday life, it's like, how am I bringing harmony to this? Is it aligned with my intention? And is this intention for the highest good of all? Harm to none. And when we have that, it's like, and then when you can choose to, if you are in sales per se, it's like, all right, how do I attract my ideal clients? And I have a whole different program on this. So how do I attract them? It's like, all right, I want the best person. I'm in this industry. I might be working with other small businesses to make them, let's talk telecommunications, so that they can run their business. They need internet, they need phones. All right. And I want to specifically, I'm narrowing it down to a niche. Right? It's like, beautiful. Okay, let's go boutique sales clothing, and they need telecommunications. All right. And then I'm reaching out to those people, and I can like thumb it through the internet. And then the moment I set that intention that I'm here to serve, and I'm wanting to connect with the people that are right for both of us, where there's mutual agreement, just like we're here today, right? That's how we connected. Put out a calling, you attract, and weave magic, make magic. We create a beautiful podcast, synergy, harmony. And then you reach it out into the field, you attract more of like-minded people who this is going to help and support and resonate with. So that's how we incorporate like the spiritual aspect into our ordinary or everyday corporate lives, or whatever you're choosing to do for work. I know a few construction workers who, like, there's a huge concreter, and he loves creating solid foundations for people to build their dreams. And as I say that, I get goosebumps, and I do every single time. There's the moment we created that shift for him. And when this is what you do, he's like, oh my God, I'm in love with it. I'm in love with my job now. And then his business has gone like this, because he's shifted the perception of what he does. And then he's booked up a year in advance now, and people are willing to wait because he loves what he does. And this is what he does. He builds a solid foundation for people's dreams. Wow. So that's already taken, by the way. Someone's thinking of that. That's taken. But you'll call in what you need.
Yeah.
So bring
I love that.
to you every day.
Yeah. I love that. That's amazing. And I guess it's so true as you were talking about it, because that's exactly what I did. And I thought, it's cultural, because, we've taught that from very beginning, that you study hard, you get good grades, you get into a good college, university, and you get a good job. So that's it, right? But there's more to it. And when I came to a stage where I got a job, I did so many things. Like it was not even part of my college degree, and or what I did at university, it didn't matter. And when I got into, funnily enough, I'm in sales too, but I'm kind of pre-selling. I'm not directly selling, but I found it useful when I actually started walking, also kind of inclining towards spirituality and becoming more of understanding as who I am as a person or connecting to my higher self. Understanding that I need to see a purpose that drives me as well. So if I don't see a point in it, it's not going to work for me. Because till date, I'm good at what I do because I always think to myself that the person has problems and I'm here to serve and I'm here to help them. So if their life's gonna get easier, it's gonna bring me immense joy seeing that. So that's the only thing that drives me to my, in my work life as well. So it's that's very nicely put. Thank you for sharing that. And that's exactly what I was thinking about it as well, so as you were talking about it.
And may I just quickly add too, it's like it's okay to have a bridging job or a job whilst you do your passion, because you don't have to, not everyone's going to live their purpose. Not everyone's going to have this grand purpose to serve humanity. We
Mm,
still require tradespeople. We still require people at supermarkets stacking the shelves for our produce. And they may do that because that's what they choose to do. And in the meantime, while at their home, they might fulfill their purpose or look after animals or, volunteer. So those two don't necessarily need to be linked. But if
mm,
we can be fully there and fully present with whatever we're doing in this moment,
yeah.
that's the level of consciousness in our everyday. It's being
Mm,
fully present and being all there with whatever we're doing and not thinking about something else in the time being. It's like one
mm,
time goes really fast. We're enjoying ourselves. Everyone's feeling fulfilled and
mm.
everyone's happy.
Exactly. And I guess that as you start to connect with yourself more, and listen to your intuition more, it's always going to guide you to be a part of even a great team or change your perspective and have a, much fulfilled kind of corporate life, I would say, and allow you to kind of have that balance. Great. That's so beautiful. And from this really, Ada, you talked about some books as well, So if you have any preferences in terms of books that our listeners can actually go and read, if they're just getting started or just kind of having a sneak peek into the whole spirituality aspect of things. So what kind of books would you recommend?
Oh, okay. Well, first and foremost, if I may be so bold, is I've written a book called The Handbook for Being Human.
Mhm.
And it's a beautiful guide on how to calm the chaos in your spiritual awakening. So it's a great book that invokes more questions. So rather than it being shelf development where you read a book, put it down next and devour it, it's meant to be a guidebook. It's meant to go, okay, here's a concept. How does that make you feel? What does
Mm,
that invoke within you? So it invites deep introspection. So
right.
if I may, always promote my book first and foremost. Then there's some great, and it really does depend on what aspect or what area you're wanting
Mm,
to dive into in terms of spirituality. There's some great, oh wow, there's some great authors. I'm going to maybe mention authors rather than books themselves. Wayne Dyer, he's a beautiful man who's since passed, great aspects, and he has lots of different concepts in terms of spirituality, but he invokes the human experience through that.
mm,
Brene Brown, she talks a lot of emotions. She's a wonderful researcher who puts all
mm,
of her research together and presents it. So Brene Brown's wonderful.
yeah.
Byron Katie is another brilliant author. Abraham Hicks or Esther and Jerry Hicks talk about Abraham. And then they also talk about how to manifest in this physical realm or how our human reality can create,
Mm,
co-create with something greater than us. Then there's I just had someone, Joe Dispenza, who marries science and research with a
mm,
lot of concepts. So he marries them beautifully together. I
yeah.
like a range of both masculine and feminine energies. Deepak Chopra, oh my gosh, that man is just phenomenal. I love his work. And then his daughter's work, right? Beautiful. If you're wanting to do more in relationships, then oddly enough, John Gray, the author of Men from Mars, Women from Venus. I rejected that book when I was growing up because I thought it was sexist and biased. And then I read it and I'm like, oh, actually, there's a beautiful concept of the masculine and feminine energies. So it's also another great book to dive deeper into.
Great.
There's Stuart Wilder if you're wanting to go way out into the esoteric. But for starting your journey, then I would go to a bookstore because I still love books, and I would get a feel and go, all right, I'm wanting to just, where am I at right now? And what's my next step? The moment what's my next step? You will always be presented with exactly what you need, and you'll feel called. And whether you choose to buy that book right then and there or go online and then get it from Amazon is absolutely fine.
Yep.
But I find if you place yourself in a position of open receptivity or available to receive, then it's like you always get exactly what you need. And hopefully with questioning, I've got a bookshelf here with a ton of books, which is a fantastic resource. The other one is, her name just slipped me. She wrote, You Can Heal Your Life. Another great entry level. Louise Hay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sweetheart. Yeah, that's it. Beautiful entry level foundational openings, which when I first read her book triggered me. I was like, I don't like those concepts because they go against everything I was taught and they hurt. I was feeling a lot of rage and pain with what she said. And then I'm like, oh, okay, let me see why I feel this way and allow it to evoke. So it's often a book, and I have a couple of copies of it. So I usually hand it out to people and go, here, like, this is great start to read. And she's a beautiful, the way she writes is so beautiful. And like, it is a feminine energy, but she's lovely. But there are some, amazing men who write too. And I would encourage you to look at different things too. Don't just believe in one person. That no one person, just like you said before, is the answer to everything. And there is more than one way. So please just allow yourself to absorb different things and then also allow yourself to change your mind and change your thoughts and change your behaviors, to change your beliefs. Because it's okay. Yeah. Marianne Williamson, another one. There's many, but you've got some good ones to start with.
Yeah, great. And I think our listeners do. I'm gonna put a list and put it out there for the listeners to go and explore, I guess, and for myself too. And I guess you've mentioned a few authors that I've heard of, some not really. So I'm going to go and explore myself as well. So thank you for sharing that. And I guess with that, Aida, we have really come to an end of a podcast episode. It was such a fun and exciting episode, really, and time just flew talking to you. So thank you so much again. And look, if you have any kind of final words you want to kind of put it out there for our listeners, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, one, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you. And it has been fun. I loved like diving into some myths and things. My takeaway point is believe in something greater. Like, be open to just, there's a saying that I used very early on, and well, two, if it is to be, it's up to me. Change always begins within. And what is the possibility of? So what is the possibility of this being true? What is the possibility of this potentially not being true? And that, what's the possibility? What is the chance of? And you can use that with pretty much everything in life. What is the chance of me getting on this podcast? What's the chance of me having a cup of tea? What's the chance of me getting a discount on this? What's the chance that there is a God? What is the chance that there is not? Whatever your belief system is, what if there's a chance of the moment that you are open and you have that beautiful open mindset, just see what drops in for you. And then you still have the power of choice. That's the really cool thing. At a certain age, we're fully responsible for our choices. And it's like, oh, what's the possibility of? And allow the possibilities to present themselves. And the possibilities are endless.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Aida. Again, I'm very grateful for having you on Sipping on Stories podcast. And with that, we will end. And it was, again, great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you so much.